Hi everybody, welcome to At Home with Gigi. I'm Gwen. Thanks so much for stopping by. I cannot wait to share with you these DIYs that I have created with napkins. I'm a part of the Napkin Mystery Exchange again this month and I'm so excited. But I'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. But first, I want to show you these wonderful items that was sent to me in the Mystery Exchange by Brandi at Treasure Tomorrow. This month is a mystery month, so we have to use 3 designated napkins at least that the person that's sending us napkins designates. And isn't Snoopy just adorable? But he isn't one of my designated ones. It's the 2 pumpkin napkins here and then this solid orange. But Brandi, you sent some of the most gorgeous napkins. Thank you so very much. I cannot wait to use them in other DIYs. But guys, I am so excited to show you what I've created. So let's just get started. I am so excited about this DIY. I've had these wooden firecracker pieces in my stash for over a year. I got them last year from Michael's. They had all their 4th of July items 75% off. I'm going to be using them with this beautiful napkin from Brandi. And I'm also going to be using the color plaster from Waverly Chalk Paint. And I'm just going to give each one of the wooden pieces 1 coat of paint because I want some of that wood grain to show through. I did want to just take a moment and tell you about the Mystery Napkin Exchange Challenge for this month. Our host is Sarah at Sunflower and DIY, and she asked me to be her co-host this month. Thank you so much, Sarah, for the honor. I truly appreciate it and the time you took to teach me how to do things for the playlist this month. It is truly appreciated. This month, I sent my napkins to Abril at Crafters in the Rough. And as I said at the beginning, Brandi from Treasure Tomorrow, she sent me my napkins. Guys, everybody's channels will be listed down in the description box along with this playlist of all these wonderfully talented YouTubers. Please go and check them out, show them some love, and tell them that I sent you and said hello. I let my blocks almost completely dry, and then I'm just taking a very fine-tipped paintbrush and dipping it into the Antiquing Wax by Waverly. And then as you can see, I'm just very lightly, or trying to very lightly, drawing along the wood grain lines and just bringing those back out. I'm just going to dip my brush in a little bit of water and then a tiny bit of the plaster, and then just brush over the strokes and then just keep going over it and just kind of blending it in and making it look like it's more worn and distressed. This did take a little while to do because I did all 4 sides and the top of each of the wooden pieces, so it would be a good time to put some movies on or catch up on your YouTube videos or something like that. But I enjoy this. I love to paint, and it's just so soothing and relaxing to me listening to music and doing this. But just to let you know, if you decide to recreate this, it is a little bit time consuming. I'm going to use 3 different squares for this project, and I'm just going to cut each of the squares out and do as finely detailed work as I can. It's time consuming, yes, but it is so worth it. And as you can see, I'm just putting down an even, pretty thin layer of Mod Podge, and I'm going to use a different section of the napkin for each of the wood pieces. I'm just lining it up where I want it as best I can, and I'm going to use the cling wrap to help smooth it out so my fingers just not stick to the napkin, because this napkin is very, very thin. It's beautiful, but it's very thin. So this one I had to patch up just a bit. As you see the pumpkin laying there on the table, I kind of chopped it off. My granddaughter and I were FaceTiming, and we were crafting while we were FaceTiming, and I was cutting out my napkins, and I wasn't paying attention and chopped off that part, and I was like, why did you do that? But I just trimmed it up, and as you can see, I'm lining it up, and I think I made it work pretty well. You'll have to tell me. And I just patted it with the cling wrap until I got it to lay down and just blend in with the other, and then I just covered it with a layer of Mod Podge. And this one, I had a bit of trouble with it as well. I took a phone call after I put the Mod Podge down, and I should have went back and added another layer. Did not, and it was dry, and my napkin was really tight. And instead of the old brain kicking in and saying just, add more Mod Podge or spritz it with a little bit of water, as you can see, I cut it. And about that time, the brain's like, oh my gosh, you could have spritzed it with water, and that's what I'm about to do. And it did make it more pliable, and I was able to use the cling wrap and just kind of pat it into place. And I think it's pretty seamless here as well. This is really sped up, but I had to really take my time because these napkins are very, very thin, especially when they're damp. And I'm just touching it up around the edges and with more Mod Podge, and you'll see in a few minutes I go back and add another good layer of Mod Podge. Once all 3 wood pieces were completely dry, I went back with my nail file and just very gently sanded off the edges, because these napkins are very, very delicate. And again, this is where I just went in and give it a really good coat of Mod Podge and just seal the napkins down really well. Now I'm just using some stems from a bag that I got from Walmart for my pumpkins, but you can go outside and find sticks in your yard for free and make a stem for your pumpkin. I know I say all the time that I love my DIYs, and I do. They're like my little children sometimes. But these, I fell in love with these. I really don't think that they look like napkins on the front. So tell me what you think. For this DIY, it's just very simple and easy. We're going to use this picture frame house from the Dollar Tree, one of my required napkins, and this scrap piece of cardboard. I'm just going to use the mat that was in the picture frame as my template and just trace it out on this piece of cardboard. And then just using my utility knife, I'm going to go in and just cut out the little house shape out of the cardboard. And guys, be careful. Sometimes I get a little carried away when I'm crafting and don't always use the best judgment. So if you're using a utility knife for this, just be careful that you don't cut yourself. After I get the piece of cardboard cut out, I'm just going to go in and give it one coat of Waverly chalk paint in white. After I let my paint dry completely, I'm going to go in and add a layer of Mod Podge on top of the paint, let that dry completely. And now I'm just lining up my napkin, trying to see exactly where I want to get my placement. As you can see, the napkin has 2 separate sides, or rather the pumpkins are not all going in one direction. And I just want to make sure that the pumpkins that are on the front of my cardboard are all going in the same direction. And I'm just using my favorite method of iron on very low setting and a piece of wax paper over the napkin. And it just gives it such a smooth finish, and I love it. I just used the old handy dandy nail file, removed all the excess tissue paper around the edges, pop it back into the frame, and then just a couple more embellishments, and that's all it takes for just a quick, easy, very pretty DIY. And I'm just going to use this sticker that Tammy sent me from Happiness Created, and I just thought it was so cute. It says, "We call this place home." I just made a quick little bow with some ribbon from the Dollar Tree, tied it in the center with jute twine, and now I'm just popping it at the top of my house. I was going to use those pumpkins that's laying on the table, but I changed my mind and decided to use some little tiny pine cones, and I believe those came from Michael's last year. This was just such a fun, easy little sign to make. Anybody can do it. It doesn't take much skill at all. If you decide to recreate it, let me know. Drop me a comment down below. But I think it just turned out so adorable. We're going to be using this metal tray from the Dollar Tree and some black Rust-Oleum spray paint. And I took it outside. I gave it a really good coat of spray paint, then let it dry, then one more coat and let it completely dry. And I took some Waverly white chalk paint and mixed it with a lot of water. It's just very little paint. And I'm just going around the edges of this tray and just highlighting all that detail. And I thought some of it looked sort of like pumpkins, at least it did to me. And I just wanted that to kind of stand out. And I'm using this orange napkin. And guys, I did not get the backing off of this, so I was so scared doing this project, but I could not get the backing off. I even wasted one of the napkins. Well, not really wasted, but the side of it I tore trying to get the backing off, and it just would not come off. But anyway, I'm just taking my pencil and I'm going around the inside of the tray and tracing it out because I'm going to Mod Podge my napkin to the inside of the tray. As you can see, I'm adding a fairly heavy layer of Mod Podge. Usually you don't want to do that because of wrinkling. But again, this napkin is so thick, I thought that it needed it, and it really did. And I just lined it up in there as straight and evenly as I can. It is not perfect by any means, because I cannot cut really straight to save my life. But anyway, as you can see, I'm just smoothing and just pressing out any air bubbles and excess Mod Podge that might be under there. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta stop tugging so hard and pushing so hard, I'm gonna tear this. But this napkin has held up beautifully. This pumpkin was part of a garland, and I just removed it from the garland, filled in the 2 holes at the top with a little bit of spackle, sanded, let that dry, sanded it down, and now I'm just giving it a coat of plaster by Waverly chalk paint. And before my pumpkin completely dried, I'm just going in with some burnt umber from Apple Barrel, and then just, as you can see, just brushing around the edges, and then just using a little bit of the plaster mixed with it just to give it a little more definition and to make it look a little bit more like a pumpkin. And y'all know I love to paint a pumpkin, so I loved doing this part. I love all crafting, but I love to paint pumpkins for some reason. After letting my pumpkin dry completely, I'm going to use this rub-on transfer, and I believe this came from the Dollar Tree. And it just says "Simply Blessed," and I love that phrase. And I thought it was just perfect to go on the front of my pumpkin. I will tell you to make sure of your placement before you remove this backing, because once you remove that backing and place this transfer on there, it's pretty much there to stay. So just keep that in mind. And the little tool that I'm using to rub my transfer, I got that back in last summer, I think it was, when I ordered some flower transfers from Amazon. And I did have to rub a little bit more than usual for some reason with this transfer. I'm not really sure why. When I thought that I had gotten it all, I lifted it up and realized that the bottom of my S's had not come off, so I lined it back up as best I could and then just used my fingernail, as you can see, and just rubbed over the bottom of the S's, and I was able to make it look like it matched. And then I just went over it with a really good coat of Mod Podge to make sure my letters didn't come off. I just used Gorilla Hot Glue to attach my pumpkin, but if you want a stronger hold, you can always use E6000. I'm just going to add in a little bit of moss at the bottom of the pumpkin. I'm just going to pop my messy bow at the top of the tray. But after I set it up and got to looking at it, I thought the bow needed just a little bit of something else. So I went and added a little bit of raffia to the center of the bow. And I think it's just that little extra something that it needed. And this is what my tray looks like just sitting up all by itself. I think it's just super, super cute. But thank you guys so very much for being here today. I appreciate it so much. I hope if you like what you saw today that you'll give me a big thumbs up. It sure will help my channel. If you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go hit that subscribe button. Please guys, don't forget to go check out the playlist down in the description box and go and check out all these other wonderful YouTubers. Tell them I said hello, and I will see you next time. Bye!